Braden Lodge medium density housing exemplar project, which I'm very happy to move. I think this is a stunning project and exactly the sort of thing that we should be doing in terms of urban planning. It provides a community that has thought through all of the issues, and this also helps provide for the new Key Activity Centre in the southwest, which is desperately needed. If any of you have tried to get into Riccarton Mall on a Sunday afternoon or along Riccarton Road. So I love the concept of what's been designed here. I'm delighted that we're doing this as an exemplar project, and I think that this takes some of the earlier subdivisions that have been approved and learns from the mistakes, and it does something that will be exciting and wonderful. So this seconded Councillor Chen.
Sorry, Chair. Only one question.
Did you want to second it? I just have one question for you.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, okay, cool.
One question, I ask staff. Is there any mitigation scheme in dealing with the sea level rise and low-lying area? Because my understanding, at the moment, this location very close to the Henderson Basin.
The stormwater management will be dealt. Yeah, I mean that'll be dealt with at the more detailed stage. I mean this is a concept stage. The infrastructure, well, the city environment team at this stage are satisfied with the progress of the scheme to this point, and more detail will follow through its consenting process.
So you already consider this issue already?
Yeah, I mean
okay.
There are already parts built in.
That's
yeah.
my question.
Clarification on page 37 there, just talking about in the table the dewatering program halfway down the commentary. Can you explain a little bit more about that, the stormwater treatment and exchange of soils and silts between the site and Henderson Basin? What does that mean? Is that during an event or during construction, or?
No, it is during construction. I think it's taking material from the Henderson Basin's wetland area and using some of that material on the development site to build up levels, to deal with some of the flood management issues that have to be dealt with there. So
you'll be building up the land because it's in a floodplain?
It'll be an exchange of material more. There's good quality material and better and poorer quality material.
Right, so you'll be improving the substrata, but also deepening the Henderson Basin. Is that fair to say?
Some of that's still party to ongoing discussion, it's fair to say. But that's part of this whole stormwater debate, which will come through in the detailed consenting.
Okay. So we're approving this in principle, and there's obviously more work to do.
Much more.
Yeah.
So when we had the agenda setting meeting for this committee, we asked if we could have really clearly laid out what is the public process for the community to be involved in the decision. Do we have anything that shows what opportunities the public have, if any, to make submissions, to be notified? And if so, where is that?
The likely route for this is through a notified resource consent application, of which people will be made aware of that. There will be submissions and probably hearings, depending on the issues that are raised through that. So there's a full engagement process on the back of that application.
I'm really worried about then, because I'm glad that you've said that that's how you see it, that on page 12 of or 55 of the agenda, I think it says that Sarah and City Council facilitate the delivery around practicality of not being required to notify the resource consent for scheme plan and land use approvals, an alternative fast-track process to enable early commencement of development on the site, where necessary recommend to the Minister to use any appropriate powers under the 2011 Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act So I'm really concerned that there's an expectation that's being set in the incentives discussion that we would support the possibility of it being non-notified or, excuse the vernacular, but lerped as we previously had done to us today. So I just, I really like this project, but I want it to be really clear that we have some recommendation in there that this will be either, if we can say formally, publicly notified to enable public participation, or whether that's something that can come back through a different process.
The Land Use Recovery Plan in Action 8 identifies that there is access to the SER Act powers to move schemes in this action along. We've been doing some investigation with SERA, and I think there are risks associated with not holding the right amount of public consultation. So we've discarded those, and the non-notified, the fully notified pathway is what will go forward. But that's still subject to the applicant's discussion. I mean, there are still two pathways available here. There's through the notified resource consent, or it goes through the district plan, which will be progressing along. I think in the interest of getting this scheme moving more quickly, the notified route is the way that the applicants are currently looking at going. And like I say, that will involve submissions, hearings, and everything else.
So can I just be very clear, the council can't ask more of this than the current district plan requires of it. If it's to go under the current zoning, and that's the discussion that's been had, it will require a resource consent. Part of it, and the balance of this land, is part of the debate that's been ongoing through the district plan review, and then obviously that will be subject to that. I think the other aspect where we've talked about the council and SERA and other parties facilitating it, it's around ensuring that timeframes are met, that discussions are carried out with intent to reach resolution. And there's, as you'd appreciate, there's a myriad of discussions, technical discussions that go on well below the consenting process, and it's around ensuring a joint commitment to getting those happening as quickly as possible.
Yeah, if we approve it in principle, are we reducing the public's ability to be notified or have any involvement? Because what we're hearing out in Avonhead, for example, is once something's lerped, that it makes it very hard for them to actually have any weight against it.
Part of the question, I think the analogy with Avonhead is quite fair, but
Because
the first part of the question,
so,
I'll get Mike to answer.
So the approval in principle basically is a requirement. We're required to approve it as under the LERP action. It is in principle, because while we're saying at the moment we're significantly convinced as a council that this meets the key objectives for an exemplar, they've obviously it doesn't override their obligations to meet the statutory requirements of the district plan. So those are not in any way compromised or reduced by this decision today. So they still have to meet all the tests, they still have to go through all the processes that the plan outlines. Well, they can do that if the minister agrees to that, and if they seek that. That's a power that's enshrined in the LERP that we don't have control over. At this stage, our understanding is that if they pursue the resource consent, and if they pursue getting early consent, they go through a resource consent process.
Right, but just so I'm clear, if it's approved as an exemplar under the LERP, it does give the possibility that a fast-tracked, non-public process will be used by the minister, if he chooses, to make these changes.
No, the LERP, just being an exemplar of itself, doesn't give that access. The minister would have to look at amending the LERP to do that, to do anything specifically different.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I put the motion? Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Thank you. And moving on to the next clause, which is 100.